Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Reluctant Hero podcast. This podcast is made with an intention to inspire other creatives to strive for better expression, better fulfillment in their art and overcoming the challenges. And I created this podcast to share the stories of other people who are also have the hero within themselves, but are reluctant to express it for one reason or another, and I discuss with them what have been working for them in order to overcome that reluctance. So if you glean something from this podcast, I hope it inspires you and motivates you to go to your own personal next level. This is the intention of this podcast, to share the inspirational stories and to help all other creatives to be essentially more creative. My name is Pauline Dugald. I'm the creativity coach, and this is my way of giving back to the world essentially and bringing more value in a sense. So on today's episode, we have a wonderful guest. His name is Tim Roche, and I will let him introduce himself so that I don't speak too much on his behalf. So Tim, please tell us about yourself.
Hey everybody, my name is Tim Roche. Um, I've had a love affair with sounds since I can remember. It's always been special to me, and I always kind of knew that I would be involved with sounds. So my course was like many people, I wanted to be a rock star, and then kind of figured out that that's a not very easy. So I decided that I should get into audio engineering to still be around sound. I figured, well, my band can record on the weekends, and it just worked out. It came easy to me. Um, I just loved it. In my 20s, in the 90s, when everybody was, hanging out, I was in the studio learning things. The technology was at a very interesting place where digital was just coming into the realm of things, but we still had analog machines that we had to control with computers, and it was a really cool time. So yeah, I've always really just loved sound and what you're able to do with sounds. Um, Eventually, I got a job at WWE, and I worked for WWE, Vince McMahon, and all those guys for 22 years. And the most awesome thing about that was that from the very top, it was never a question of cost. If a piece of gear cost $100,000 and we needed six of them, okay, just do it. So in that sense, it really was. We were driving Ferraris every day, and we were on like all the cool racetracks, metaphorically speaking. And then the problem with places like that is that as it got really really big, it really shifted to a corporate setting where you and I were discussing yesterday, Pauline, where all of a sudden we were being monetized. So directly related to this, your creativity was they're trying to monetize it. And I remember in the early days, they'd say, "So how many hours do you spend doing this or that or this or that?" Why? Why? Why do you want to know? Because my boss knows, the production crew knows, but it was a bean counter. So it was the first time I had to start thinking, like, not as an artist, but like, I don't know how much time I spend on this. And again, that takes you out of your creative zone. If I have to worry about all these things, it's not fun, and it's a distraction. So then as the years rolled by and they got more corporate, and profit really seemed to be huge. Where we should be insulated from that. We're the creatives. I don't care about profit. I only care about what I'm doing. You know, like all artists, I just want my work out there. So when COVID happened, like everybody else, it was really difficult. Um, the balance, there was no balance. As an audio guy, wrestling is live, and the sound is more than half of the presentation. And now all of a sudden, we had no sound. There was no crowd, so we were playing shows to empty not even arenas, smaller, and it was a desperate situation. It was, we had 25 crew members and a couple of producers, and they'd say, "Okay, everybody, boo, boo, boo 5 times, cheer 10 times." We would have to send it back over the satellite, and I would load it into a computer every day for every show. And it was brutal. But at the same time, we felt like, man, we're really doing something. And the world, the fans were so appreciative. Like, there's no crowd. These dudes are pulling crowd out of their, which was true every single day, new stuff. And it was really hard. So after that all kind of went, I guess it was 2021. They had a big corporate meeting, the first time, all employees, and they told us they made $1 billion profit. So we're like, wow. And Pauline, I was so excited for my review. I was so excited because I was like, I kicked ass. I know I did. I saved the company. I know I'm gonna get my windfall. And so in this meeting, oh, we made all this money. Oh, this is great. And the whole meeting is them patting themselves on the back. And then 2 days later, they send an email out saying, no bonuses, no raises. So now this touches on a very sensitive subject. I didn't want to live anymore. I didn't want to die, but the work was so much. 16-hour days every day, you know, working from my house. I had a letter in my car. Dear police officers, let this man go to work. He works for Vince McMahon. He's a TV guy. Like, the world, people were dying all over the world, and it was so terrible. So my reaction was visceral. I told my boss those two magical words that are not Merry Christmas. And that was the day I realized they made a decision. The board knew, we're going to lose people. We're going to lose senior people because but they were okay with that. So this all ties into when you expressed this to me, like, how do you deal with creativity and all these things? Like, I'd never been felt more betrayed in my life than that, because I was a team player. I would have went through hell and back, which I did. I did go through hell and back for them. And then, sorry, it was just, it would have been okay if they didn't. We made more money than we ever have, but none for you guys, but they all got bonuses. You know what I mean? So I was done with that place. And what was so cool about it was that I wasn't afraid. I knew that the technology was there where I could carry this on my back and do it myself. And now, so the equipment I have is actually equal, or if not better, to what WWE had, which won, the equipment we had was used on Lord of the Rings, won every sound design possible. It was a Euphonics System Series 5 console. It was the most beautiful console I ever worked on. And they had to throw them out. Throw them out because it's a publicly traded company, and the company went out of business. So you can't have a publicly traded company and equipment that doesn't have a service contract. So here we are again, being told by bean counters, because in the old days, you just buy 10 consoles, keep them in a warehouse. A piece breaks, we need a new coffee cup. Well, we got 20 of them in a warehouse, but we were forced to not do that. We were forced to buy Pro Tools, which is a very, very, everybody kind of knows it, but it's a dog. It's a dog. In that machine takes you out of your creative zone. Any technology where I personally have to think about what I'm doing, it's removed me from the creative process. And that's what Pro Tools was. So this is not Pro Tools. This is DaVinci Resolve. which is a dream come true. The new update has AI already, so we're already there. We better face it because it's here already. Um,
There's so much in your story, Tim. And so just to finish up your introduction, where did you end up after that, after the COVID event? What happened to you in the last 2, 3 years?
yeah, so one day they said, okay, figure out how to send your team home with consoles and mix. You can't mix on your coffee table. You see that this room is soundproofed and it's, a lot of time and effort went into making it sound right. That's why all studios look the same. They all have paneling on the walls. It's called a reflection-free zone, so you can really, really understand what you're listening to. So once we came home with consoles, that's when I thought I can do this myself. I can do this myself. My ears are experienced enough where I can at least say, okay, this isn't the right setting, but I can kind of make it work. I put headphones on, and so that's why I kind of came up with the idea. And I had zero fear, zero. I believed in myself. I believed in my creative abilities. And the energy that I've gotten, Pauline, I have not had a bad day since my last day at WWE, which was May 10th, 2022.
Wow.
Every day's a dream.
So you started your own business?
I started my own business. And as I was driving home from my last day at WWE, I came up with the name. I love my dogs. I have two big brown labs. And, we're real dog people. It's having two big dogs is it's not just having one dog. You have to take them places. You have to, have cars with, we have trucks so that the dogs are a part of our family. So I'm driving home and I'm like, you know what? Brown Lab Studios. Brown Lab Sound Studios. Yeah, yeah. And I came home and I went on the internet and I bought the LLC right then and there. And I was like, we're going for it, man. And it's been a blessing and a dream, really.
Wow, it is so incredible to hear. Well, there you go, listeners. From wanting to experience sound, from to working in the corporate world, and then to starting your own business, bam, the podcast is finished. This is like essentially the success story of a creative person. But really, what you're touched upon are so many important levels and aspects of what the creative person goes through in their life. First of all, I want to mention a little bit about the sound, how you said the sound was very important to you. And
Yeah.
it reminds me of research that has been done on certain technologies of sound that potentially have been used in ancient times to potentially move solid objects by reducing the weight of them. And we also know how the sound affects the body because it affects the molecular structure. And there's been experiments on water, how the water and even solid objects rearrange themselves based
Yeah.
on the vibration of the sound. So the sound is very important for us as humans because we're mostly made of water. So whatever frequency of sound we hear, we rearrange ourselves to that. So
Yes.
it is so incredibly important. Do you have anything else to add to that?
Well, yeah. I mentioned to you yesterday that one of the things, like a sort of a pet project that's sort of dear to my heart, is the fact that there's sound for rehabilitation. I had a good friend of mine who was a drug addict and he got himself clean. He was an audio guy and he wanted to help other addicts. And he was telling me, hey, man, 40 cycles, this low bass tone, it really, really affects you, and got me into it. And then he relapsed. He died. So that's near and dear to my heart. I've done some babbling brooks, they call them. Water, to your point, the sound of water is so soothing. So I had one of my clients said, dude, yeah, you got microphones. Can we go to a couple of rivers or brooks and record the water? Sure. And we did. And first of all, to sit in the woods for a couple of hours is really nice too. And hey, I'm working. I got a microphone here. but again, it was so yeah, sound does do those things. It does move us. You know, you touched on the water thing. I didn't really realize that. But to your point, how sound makes you feel, if you've ever been to a parade, it gets you pumped up. Doom, 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 doom. That's a preparing you for war. Okay, how do we get all these poor guys to go kill each other? That's what that tempo and that beat structure is, and that percussion is. So sound, like I said, it's always been really, really important to me. I've always loved it. Like I have a love affair with sound. I
Yeah.
really do. I love it.
Well, and then you go into music and how that music changes your state. If you listen to a song that is upbeat, that is fast paced, and
Yeah.
it has repetitive sounds, it's actually been found that the sounds that are predictably repeat themselves are more likely to get us into a good mood because we like predictability.
Ah,
So the pop culture actually uses that aspect to the full extent. They make songs, they engineer them to be
sure.
predictable so
Yeah.
that they would be liked by more people. And it elevates your mood and whatever. And then if we go into electronica and trance and techno, that is the whole new level. Like for me,
Yeah.
that is spiritual in nature.
Sure.
And then we go into the heavy metal and all the dark and heavy aspects of the sounds. And that really bring out the shadow aspect of our psyche in a way. So if you're angry, sometimes it helps to listen to the same kind of vibration, the same music to align so that you can get out of it sometimes. So sometimes the opposite are not good. Sometimes you want to listen to exactly the same melody as how you're feeling inside. So there's just variations to that.
It's so incredible you said that. Um, I love metal. My wife loves black metal, you know, like what you're talking about, the black metal bands from Oslo and stuff. So there's this one black metal band that called Dimmu Borgir that they wear corpse paint, they sing about the devil and stuff. It's very silly, but it does pump you up and it does makes me feel great, you know? So that was sort of a band that brought us together, and we listened to them all the time. And I remember when my second was born, Danica, she's an infant, and I'm holding her, and Dimmu Borgir is playing lightly in the background, and I said, "Nah, that's not the right. This is innocence here. That is not. That is something totally different. The energies were totally off." And I had to put that away. And I think I put on Baby Mozart.
Yeah.
But to your point, like I recognize as much as I love this music, this isn't right now. Like there's nothing more precious right now than this innocent baby that I'm swaddling. You know, let's put that music away. It doesn't feel right. And my wife laughed. She's like, "Yeah, right." But yeah, you're really onto something there.
Yeah, and also what you've just expressed is that there are different variation, different levels to the different times in our life. We move
Yes.
through different stages, and different stages correspond to different sounds.
Oh my God. You know what? I don't listen to metal pretty much at all anymore. Like I'm a happily married man. I have three kids. I have two dogs. I guess I don't need that anymore, or I'm at a different place.
Well, one aspect that I want to bring up, I don't know if you ever heard of it. There is called the levels of consciousness. They were discovered by David R. Hawkins, and essentially they go from low emotions like fear, anger, apathy, and they go up towards neutrality, love, unconditional love, and joy, etc. So they go on the scale of expansion. And so, as we start as people, we start in this space where we need to prove ourselves. We have a lot of kind of anger and sometimes rebellion, and we start at the bottom, and then we have to move up towards expansion of the soul, towards elevation of the spirit, towards higher emotions. And as you just expressed, in the early days, you were listening to a lot of that raunchy metal, and then you got married and you had kids. So you're elevating yourself towards more expansion and higher levels of consciousness. So the music do you used to listen, those vibrations no longer align with you by what it sounds like,
Wow. Wow.
right?
Holy cow.
How awesome is that? Music follows our life path.
You're the first person I've ever heard say that.
I have a lot of patterns that in my mind just connect sometimes because I search different areas and they just like click, and then the new insight comes out and it just makes perfect sense.
Wow. That sounds spot on to me.
And even our journey in life, in work, is correspondent to the evolution of our soul. We start in corporate where we are told what to do, we're just a cog in a machine, and as we expand we move towards self-expression through business
Yeah.
as a vehicle of personal creativity.
Wow. Man, I wish I listened to you 10 years ago.
Right, well, that's why I'm doing it now, and that's why, thank goodness, it's being recorded, because sometimes I say things like that and they just go off into the ether. But we caught it on video and on audio so that others can really glimpse that idea that they are on a trajectory of self-expansion and everything in their life is aligned and correspondent to that.
Yeah. And you know what? To add to that, I think many artists can take a look at their work throughout the years and see, like, oh God, it's cringeworthy what I did 20 years ago compared to what I can do now. Um, but we need to embrace that. Like, that's where you were,
Yeah.
and that's awesome.
Yeah. And another thing for artists, so what you mentioned is courage towards going towards what you were thought and knew inside, deep inside, it was right, and courage to do it when you had a family. Because a lot of creatives are terrified to leave their jobs that are predictable and stable because they are responsible for others, because they have families and kids, especially. So it's interesting that you highlighted that aspect, that if you believe in yourself, if you know that your skills are good and that your creativity is strong, you can make something out of yourself on your own, not dependent on the system, because system is designed to maintain itself.
Right.
It goes against creativity because
Yes.
creativity serves to constantly bring up change.
Yep.
So that is the clash that often happens. And what I hear often from my clients and other people is that they are afraid to do what they love in work because they are afraid it's going to be squashed under those heavier rules.
Been there, done that. I have done some of my best work only to receive the harshest criticism over it. And they a lot of places like WWE, they think, oh, we're going to be mean to them and they're going to fear us. And well, we did, but man, there's no motivation. It's just get through tonight. Get through tonight. Whatever. You tell us, you tell the world, oh, you got the best, and you do, but then you don't trust them and you don't let them really express themselves. Anytime someone wanted to do something totally different, it was a nightmare because eventually it would get redone into the same thing. The same thing.
Yeah, because the system serves strives to maintain itself and recreate itself.
Yeah.
Like saying the quote from Joe Dispenza, we like to replicate predictable future from familiar past. That is the whole point of the system. That is the whole point of like managers. They like to preserve things, which is important. It's important to preserve the structures and systems and
Yeah.
society and all of that. But the criticism, that is actually a huge thing for creative world, because we are told in school that criticism and feedback is a good thing. You're supposed to receive it and you're supposed to follow it and whatever. But when it comes to creatives, especially if they are at the beginning stages of
Yeah.
their creative journey, criticism is actually detrimental. And I'll explain why. Because as a creative, the music or art or dance or any creative aspect only exists in the process of creation, in the process of bringing it forward. It dissipates after that. When the dancer stops dancing, there is no more art. It only exists in that moment when the dancer expresses it. When the music stops being played, it is existent somewhere, maybe on a recorded device, but it's no longer in action.
Yes.
Same with any expression of the art. Maybe the paintings are kind of like the only thing that's stable after it's being created, but still even there. So if creativity is expressed in the moment of action, which that means that the creative person brings it through their own entire self.
Yeah.
They serve as a conduit
Yeah.
to bring that creativity forward. And so criticism then affects their core self directly in that moment of creation. So that is why I believe it's so devastating. The criticism can be devastating to creatives because it hits them right at the core, which is used to bring forth that creativity into the world.
Yes.
And
And
so they say, well, you have to develop thick skin. If you develop thick skin, then you can't bring the aspects of creativity forward.
you have to protect yourself.
If you protect yourself, then you are not open to
That's right.
receiving those downloads. That's like a catch 22.
That's right.
So what
Why
I
should I bother? Why should I bother and have my heart stabbed when they're just going to tell me to do it the same old way anyway? So I'm just going to do it the same old way, and it it's so destructive for creative people. It's destructive. I thought I was done. I said to you yesterday, I remember walking into the building, the TV studio, and thinking, oh God, I don't know how much more I can do. I'm so done with this. I'm tired of being crapped on and disrespected and all of those things, you know. They
yeah,
didn't give us Christmas bonuses. No, no bonuses. Vince didn't believe in bonuses. I pay you enough.
yeah, and
A
that's
bottle of wine?
the creatives really do want and need appreciation for
Yeah.
that work of diving into unknown all the
Yeah.
time. So, from the perspective of different systems, the people who maintain those systems, they are always on guard, and it's part of their duty in a way to do that job. So, most of the time, they don't feel like they need to be acknowledged for doing that work. But creatives diving into that darkness, diving into that unknown, that takes courage of the different kind. And for whatever reason, they do need that appreciation, they do need that acknowledgement and validation. Whatever we want to think about it, however we want to judge it, it is a fact that is required. So,
Mm.
what I think is the journey for creative is how to really mature their aspect so that they can receive the feedback from the environment without it affecting their creative center and without shutting down. I think that is the journey of a lifetime.
Yes. Yes. And it's possible.
It is.
It's possible. I don't think 10 years ago I would have been really ready to do what I'm doing. You know, like I don't think I would have been just ready, all over, just ready, you know, whatever. Um, and I am now. And it's because of the journey. It's because of all the years and all the experience that, you know, well, think about it logically, dude. You can mix. You've won awards. You get praise. You know, every week is a big, we're not doing like easy stuff. It's all really, really in-depth sound design. And, you know, they recognize there that sound is huge. That's why our department was so awesome. Like the best guys in the world, no ladies as when I was there. Um, but yeah, best in the world. And you just every day you were given this amazing my favorite thing was getting graphics, these beautiful, gorgeous graphics. You know, and in my head I'm like, you know, like a kid. And then that's the fun part. How do I get the sound out of here? You know, how do you make that sound?
What you're saying about this excitement that exists within the work itself, that is the motivation that all creatives strive for and want to get every time they work. And can you actually tell us about how this excitement wanes and rises, because it cannot stay there constantly all the time. We're not machines, we're creative, so it goes up and goes down. How have you experienced the fluctuation of that excitement?
Wow, that's a great question. Yeah, I'm high maintenance. I'm totally driven by my emotions. And when I get to a place where I don't want to do it, it's a challenge, you know. I guess that's just where the work ethic comes in, you know, like, okay, Tim, you have to edit this dialogue. It's an hour show. It's going to take all day. It's not fun, but you're not digging a ditch. You're still playing with audio. So for me, it's something inside of me that, like you said, it's a center that I just love sound. So even when it's tedious and even when I'm not riding that high, I can get myself through it. I do like to take breaks. I'll go outside with the dogs, you know, and then I'll just be like, yeah, right. This is awesome. I'm throwing the ball with my dogs. Life is great. This is fine. I'll get a coffee and I'll go back to it. So, you know, and that you never have that in the corporate world. You can't go outside. You can't, what are you doing? You're not working? No, I am working. I'm working by keeping myself in like a dopamine state with in the dogs. You need to be in the zone. I mean, the zone is not a make-believe thing. It's a real aura. So I can reset myself easily now. And that is a big plus. I urge everybody, you got to get up, go outside. You know what? When it's raining, that makes you feel human. Upon us all, a little rain must fall, Led Zeppelin said. And it makes you feel alive. Wow, I'm getting rained on. Oh, my perfect world isn't perfect right now. Oh my God, raindrops. Feels great. Nature, like be a part of it.
Yeah, and I also want to explain a little further the science of the zone that you just mentioned, and for the listeners, because I train people in the peak performance of flow state. So there's actually levels and stages to flow state that exist and have been studied. So what you just described, those fluctuations on how you need to go outside, these are naturally present within our system and within our neurochemistry that guide us into these peak performance places within this focused, highly intensive focused states, which then need to be recovered from. Many people don't
Yes.
realize that we are dependent on the neurochemistry within our brain that allows us to get into that hyper-focused state. And that's where all the dopamine, actually, there's like 5 neurochemicals that show up together. But it's very intense state, and it cannot last for longer than at least like 1-2 hours tops. After that, it needs to be recirculated, needs to be released and recovered from.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, well, so what is the 9 to 5 workload is like? You're supposed to be staring at a computer for 8 hours straight, be in the zone for 8 hours. That's unrealistic. That is why those breaks are so important for creatives, because you actually need to offload that
Yes.
intense focused state in your brain in order
Yes.
to get back into it again.
Yes.
So,
Got to
and it
move
is,
past it so you can ride back up, For
yeah,
for me, it's like noise that's interfering with my connection. And that noise takes on an anxious form. Or I get frustrated. Ah!
yeah. And that what you're describing sounds like the brain waves, because when we are in that anxious state, that's a high beta. It's pretty fast brainwave activity of the daily existence.
Yeah.
But for creativity to emerge, the brain waves have to be on the borderline of alpha and theta, which is much slower. which requires expansion, which means it requires relaxation and
Yeah.
recovery from that busyness, that noise, that white noise that is present,
Yeah.
that anxious feeling that needs to be removed in order for creativity to come through. And that is why feedback and criticism also affects creatives in such a way that it puts them into that anxious, high beta, fast paced brainwaves, and they aren't able to access their creativity in those slower brain waves. So that is kind of all fits together.
Wow. I think you just described like a lot of work days for me. If I would spend the entire day putting something together, which was pretty much every day, you spend the whole day building it. Okay. And then before I would mix it, I would just need to, and cool. That's the cool thing. Your colleagues are in it with you. So, dude, I need 20 minutes. Pauline, please. I gotta get out of here for 20 minutes and then I'll come back and mix. Yeah, dude, do you? Everybody was sympathetic to that and empathetic to that. But you're right. I needed to sort of be done with the I'm building phase so that I could get to the okay, now I need to listen and I need to build this beautiful soundscape.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And there's also a dark side to that focused state that people may or may not know about. It's great to work in a team, but sometimes the team can distract by asking questions or interrupting the workflow. And that can result in a lot of annoyance and frustration from the creative being in that state. Like, I'm in the zone. Why are you interrupting? Because coming back from the distraction can take up to half an hour sometimes.
right. That's right.
And that is actually the dark side of this high focused state, because sometimes the creatives can be prone to being angry with others for interrupting them, and that can cause conflicts in the working environment or personal environment or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of raw emotions when you have a deadline and again talking about having to monetize your creativity and now someone keeps coming into your room they want it in 10 minutes you got to finish it. I'm not even done with it. I just loaded it into the computer. I can't finish it. um so what I would do is I am on the air. There's a red light outside the studio. Like, don't bother me. And I would forward the phones. Like, I need to do this.
Yeah. In a
And
way, the creatives need to kind of train others around them to
that's right.
recognize the signs of when they are in that state so that there is easier way to understand, because sometimes creatives are really hard to understand. They go into
Yeah,
those spaces, those unknown, that is space of creation. Nobody knows what it's like except for the creative themselves.
that's
And
right.
other people around them, they love them very much. They want to support them, but they don't know how. So the
Yes.
creative people need to explain and they need to be forward about it. Like, here's what I'm doing, and here's where I might be prone to expressing anger or frustration because this and that. They have to be honest with others around them as to what is happening in their internal world.
Oh my God, you just reminded me of something pretty crazy. So one of the last big things I did there, Fox bought SmackDown and they spent $1 million on the opening sequence. The graphics were beautiful. They were so beautiful. It's probably 15 seconds. It's just animated graphics, the show open, and they're like, all right, you got to do the sound for it. So, oh my God, it was amazing. I did it in stereo and 5.1 and blah, blah, blah. So the graphics department and the audio department, they're like kind of one and the same, very creative people. And the graphics people always love coming to the audio rooms because that's the last step. So they've spent, a week on it, and now finally it gets sound put to it, and you're in the studio, and it's just so cool, right? So, so this was a big deal with Fox. So I had like 20 people in the back of the room, all of them suits who had nothing to do with the creative process. And then the guy who did it, the artist who did it, I let him sit next to me and I let him hit play. and we played it down. It was awesome. It was in 5-1. There's just sounds are whipping everywhere. And then the boss says, oh, play it again, play it again. We played it again. And some dude that I never even met this person starts making suggestions. That's awesome, but maybe you could. And I said, what is it that you do? How about I go to your desk and I sit over your shoulder and I start critiquing your work? How would you like that? And I got mad. And then the boss, all right, everybody, let's get out here. Let's let Tim do his thing. And I was so bent on that. Like, how freaking dare you? This isn't the time. There's plenty of time in the creative process. You want to come down and all the people that needed to be there were there and did give their input. It didn't get approved right away. I created it. They said, "Oh, that's awesome. Let's change this." Da, 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 da. Great. And that's when everybody came down and these clowns in the back of the room and in marketing or whatever, like, who are you again?
Yeah. Yeah, that it
That's
clearly
brutal.
illustrates the different stages in the creative process and the boundaries that creatives need to know about for themselves to really predict what can happen, how they should be preparing others around them to deal with them so that everybody can be on the same page. That is essentially how the collaboration would work the best if everybody knew what to expect from each other and could respect each other's boundaries. So it's excellent example. Thanks for sharing that. How would you express your current state of where you are and where you're going with your business, with your creative process? How does it look to you right now?
Kind of looks like the yellow brick road. It's like a dream, really. And I'm working with different people, different aspects of the business. I've always wanted to get into video game sound design, so I'm doing that now. This is a whole new level of sound because in the audio world, there's not much new. 5.1's 25, 30 years old at this point. Surround sound, Dolby Atmos, yeah, but there's no like new tricks to learn. So, and as I don't know, I always wanted to learn like all these really cool technologies. So I've been doing that and I've spent a lot of time on that, um, doing sound design for video games. And I take courses and I just have to learn more. I want to learn more. So I feel like when Babe Ruth in the pointed and then hit the home run, I feel like that's what's in front of me. Like it's all there. It's all yours. Just
Oh.
go find it. Go meet these wonderful people and it's just been so invigorating and I haven't had a bad day since my last day of WWE. So anyone listening to this, trust yourself. Trust yourself. You can do it. You know, believe in yourself.
Well, and I hope your yellow brick road looks the way it does after you've met the Wizard of Oz. You're not searching for it anymore. You're not looking to find the heart or courage or whatever. You already have it.
Yes, and it sounds great.
It sounds great. And one of the thing is you're describing is how we get to live once we let kind of life live through us. That's when
Yes.
opportunities open up and people come into our lives that can collaborate with us and move us continuously on that path. But oftentimes, before that happens, people try to strive and work hard to achieve something because they think they should be going somewhere, because they have expectations or others have expectations of them. And that is the difference between living the life based on somebody else's agenda and living the life feeling the rightness of where you're supposed to go.
Amen. It's so true. Do you know who Alan Watts was, a
Yeah.
philosopher?
Yeah.
So a friend of mine, I was struggling like the last 6 months of WWE, and a friend of mine turned me on to him, and he was like, "Dude," because I was at war with my thoughts. It was just a terrible time. Like, can I stay here? Should I go? You know. So one thing Alan Watts said that I'll never forget this. It kind of floored me. He was talking about a movie from like the 1940s or 50s where this man is shipwrecked. And after years, he decides, I have to attempt to get off this island. And he decides he's going to build a raft and blah, 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 blah. And off he goes. And the simple act of stepping forward and making that decision unleashes a world of events that you're not even aware of. So in the movie example, the man realizes that when the raft is in the water, that the wood expanded and it's very secure and very tight. And wow, these fish jump onto the raft. And again, all things that you never would have known unless you took the first step and made that choice. And that for me was really, that's all I needed. That's all I needed. Like, I got this. I'm going to do this. I'm moving forward. I'm excited. And once you start, networking with your friends, you realize, wow, people really respected my work and they want to work with me. And there's a lot of people who are in the same boat who just are really excited to collaborate with creative people. And it's like that's worth more than money at this point in my life.
Yeah, the universe meets us in the point of action, in that first step. And this reminds me of the old movie Indiana Jones, where the character Harrison Ford is supposed to traverse the big gap in, like, he needs to go to the other side of the mountain. There is no way to get there, and he has to trust himself. And when he makes the first step, the pathway appears.
Right.
That is the scariest place to be, on that
Yeah.
edge, not knowing whether the universe will support you or not. But for creatives, that is everything. That is
Yes.
literally everything. That is the point of existence, to get onto that edge and make the next step, knowing that you will be supported by the universe. It's really difficult, but once it's done, it's completely different trajectory after that.
Indeed. And it's like the image of a water drop of like dye going into water. Your juices, your any limitations you have, any fear, I suppose it all boils down to fear. Um, it's gone because I can do it. I've done it. I'm still doing it, and you realize, yeah,
The
I rock.
confidence comes after doing this. But the thing is, I think a lot of people wait for a resolution of all their fears and all their limiting beliefs. You may never actually get rid of all your patterns or your dysfunctions, all your fears and limiting beliefs. You're just going to have to go ahead with them.
Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes that is the only way. You cannot clear yourself perfectly and be this ideal. I think they call it spiritual ego or spiritual bypass.
Yeah,
You do all this work to get yourself better. You think, I'm so great now. Meanwhile, you're still carrying your baggage with you that has not left you and may not
right.
leave you for the rest of this life. You just have to keep going forward, keep creating, keep trusting that something greater than yourself will support you with all that stuff that you're carrying. It may never leave you.
Isn't the bag what makes you create, though? I don't know.
It depends. The way I see it, creativity comes from within. It's allowing, like, the spirit sort of to speak through your essence, your expression. Everything else is the baggage that comes with the ego construct, with the
Yeah,
personality construct. We need it to function in this world, but the personality is not what makes creativity happen. It's just what we wear. It's our costume. The costume comes with buttons and sleeves and all kinds of things, and we have to wear it, but it is not what brings the creativity forward. So for anybody listening, for everybody who is still reluctant to go forward with their creation process, with knowing who they are, you have to just keep going forward. There is no perfect time. There is going to be nobody who is going to give you permission. Okay, so
that's
now
right.
you have gotten sufficient amount of knowledge and sufficient number of certificates. Now you can go forth and be creative. There's never going to be a time like that. So
You give yourself permission. Give
yes,
yourself permission, please. We need you. We want you. We love you. You creative souls. We're all in this together. I adore you.
Yeah, and the whole world needs creatives now
Yeah.
more than ever.
Yes.
I believe as the new technology keeps coming in, the creativity will be the biggest skill needed for innovation. Where does creativity come from? From creatives.
Yeah. Right.
So we need those creative people to
Yeah.
lead the world into the new future where we coexist with technology and not constantly fighting it.
Yes.
So even you
Yes.
now, you have plenty of technology and AI is coming in. And how does that affect your future?
Probably a lot. Is a machine going to be able to mix like me? Probably pretty close as far as levels go. And, technically, but can a machine, I mean, that's what it is to be human. That's what it means to me to be human. I look at the screen and I put my feelings through speakers. So
Exactly.
I think it's cool because again, the mundane things of your levels, like the technical things that are not necessarily creative, they're technical. Um, if I could focus more on that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And I am using technology in that way with my system. We have what's called a deliver page, and if this little video with sound on it is going to YouTube, it has its own codec settings. If it's going to TikTok, it's got its own set of credentials and codecs and stuff. So we are using that already. It's not AI, but it is I don't know if it's binary intelligence or what it is, but we're already using it.
Yeah, but it's a tool. And there
The
will
tool.
be a time when even regular person like I'm able to produce a podcast with a minimum tools and minimal knowledge, which is amazing. But the whole purpose for that is to let my own creativity come through. So the authenticity of the creatives is going to be the most important part because there will be people who will be able to use the technology in a similar way and mix and whatever, but they can never
Right.
produce the amount of creative insight that comes through those people who have agreed to be on the forefront of this unknown. And that
Yes.
is going to be the difference.
Awesome. That's good news for us creatives.
And I believe that is why we need more creatives because their authentic self will be more important than any tools we have that can do the creative work.
Right. Right.
So, for anybody listening who is afraid of the new technology, who is anxious and feeling like, why bother? Midjourney can draw, create art better than I can, faster. The musical technology can create music in seconds. Why bother? Well, there is a reason to bother. There is a reason to exist, and that is why you are here. That is why you are creative.
Right.
If you know that you're creative, you know you are. And there's a reason for you to be here.
Yes.
So,
It's and just don't be afraid of that. Just embrace it.
yeah.
Really. I funny, I this all kind of makes sense to me. I've always been fond of like the students. Hey, internships and blah blah blah. Because they're the future creatives, and like I remember being there, and I remember thinking, wow, this really really respected engineer is taking time to teach me something. Me? I don't deserve that, but I guess I did. You just have to like not forgive yourself, but in a sense,
No, there is a lot of forgiveness that is required. Forgiveness for being strange, forgiveness for being this outside of the world norms, forgiveness for doing the mistakes that you have made in the past. There's a lot of forgiveness. And then forgiveness of others for not knowing who you are as a creative, for not knowing where your boundaries are, for not knowing how criticism affects you, because we need both sides. We need the people who are managing, and we need
yeah,
people who bring in new information in. By
definitely.
understanding and respecting and forgiving each other, we can then collaborate to bring something new in, because resistance only causes conflict, and when there is conflict nothing really works.
Right.
But we want things to work. The whole point of life is to increase complexity through
That's right.
collaboration.
more like Tai Chi, let the energy go, use
Yeah,
it to your advantage or absolutely. It's all about the energy for me. It's all about it. And every place I go, people are like, damn, dude,
yeah, it's
are you
the
like this? I'm
fluidity,
like, I'm sober. This is just me.
high on life,
High
right?
on life. Yeah.
And it's possible. It's possible to live a life when you are excited to wake up every day.
Yes. Yes. What can I do today? I'm so excited. Like I have a former colleague who's now a client of mine. This guy's had a camera in his hand his whole life, and he's a great producer. And we cut this thing. It's like a boxing little short film. And man, the sound design that I was able to do, again, because no one's standing over me going, I need this tonight by 9. I took as much time as I wanted to. I put all the Foley footsteps in. It was awesome. And I sent it back to him. I'm like, dude, you should have this too, because this is an asset. It's better for your team. Hey, we can do Foley work because yeah. Pauline needs an audio guy. I need a spiritual advisor for this. Whatever. It's all just grabbing from the same network of creatives.
Exactly. And when you create, you actually contribute to the world. So it's
Oh,
one of the highest needs of contribution. It is one of the most advanced. And by being creative, you automatically contribute to the world. And that's worth waking up to,
and you feel, damn, today was a good day.
right?
Kicked ass today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
I
So,
love to feel that. Yeah.
yeah, and everybody has some creativity in them. Some people just have it more than others.
And those are the ones who don't ignore it and go into the creative world. And we really do need to care for them. And I had a friend of mine who's he's a truck driver, and his son, again, this kid always had a camera. And he called me up one day, yeah, dude, my kid. Buh, buh, buh. And very different from his dad, and was a creative. And I told Carl, I said, dude, you need to understand something. He's a different guy. And I explained being creative. He goes, you just explained him totally, dude. He doesn't want to play baseball. I'm like, no, he doesn't want to play baseball. He'd rather draw a baseball than or film a baseball. He doesn't want to play sports. He wants. So anyway, I got him a gig at WWE for the summer, and he did so well. He didn't even want to work there. He wants to work in film. So it was just awesome. But like the father didn't really understand his son because he wasn't a creative guy. He was I gotta drive this truck, I gotta go do that. And you know what I mean? It was a different mindset. He was more task oriented.
Yeah, he is one of those managers, the people who maintain
Right.
the systems. And as
Right.
I said, we need them both. But understanding that there are different people here on Earth coexist with us is the key for us all living harmoniously together. So that is the whole point of why I am making this podcast, to shine a light on this mystery of creativity, so that it would not be so mysterious anymore. It was just like, yeah, there are artists and they don't need to be starving artists anymore.
Wow. Thank you for this because I find this incredibly gratifying. It's almost like I feel like you're kind of telling me that it's okay. And that feels so good.
Yeah. And I hope
It's
everybody
okay.
who is listening to it understand that it is okay to be an artist. It is okay to be different. And it is okay to live in that world where you constantly want to bring new ideas forward. It is what you're
Yes.
designed to do.
Amen.
Running away from that only causes more difficulties.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, it was amazing, amazing conversations. I hope everybody got a lot of value out of that. So, in closing, where can people find more about you?
You can find more about me at www.brownlabstudios.com. Brown Lab Studios. The world is a great place now. You just send files. No one has to show up anymore. So I work with people all over the world now.
Yeah, that's exactly what it
It's
is.
awesome.
COVID changed everything. It allowed people to be accessible anywhere in the world. And I'll put the link in the description. And if anybody needs an amazing sound producing person, Tim is your guy. All right. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for watching if you are watching this. And I will see you in the next episode.